Hello. In statistics, one thing you learn how to calculate is the standard deviation. Usually you learn how to do this by hand first, which involves a very non-intuitive formula and involves making a table and eventually carrying out lots of operations that can take some time to get to your standard deviation, whether it's a sample or a population. But one thing you do learn by doing this by hand is that it can take a while, especially if you have a large amount of data. So if you have a large amount of data or you're pulling this out of a book, it would be very nice to have a quicker way of handling that, especially to keep you from making mistakes. So if you're taking one of our classes, you might be working in Hawks Online, and this question gives us a set of data and ask us to find the population variance and the population standard deviation eventually. One thing about Hawks Online, on some problems, it gives us a chance to copy that data. So I'm going to hit copy, and it says it's put that on the clipboard. Now I'm going to go over to an Excel file that I created, which allow me to handle a lot of data at once. Okay, so I'm going to start in A1, and I'm going to right click and paste, and here is the data that I just stole from Hawks Online. This is not set up just to handle 10 things. You can handle as many as you want. If you pull it from a book or checking some of your homework, you might have to type those in yourself. But here's a set of formulas that will allow us to calculate the mean and standard deviation and variance, especially if we have a large amount of data, or maybe you just want to check behind your calculations. So the first one here, I'm going to do it over here off to the side so that I remember what I'm calculating. But the mean, the formula for that is equals average, and you have to type in the average, the equals, so that it knows you're trying to tell it to calculate something. We'll open the parentheses, and now it needs to know what I want to calculate the average for. So I'm going to highlight those 10 items and hit enter. Turns out the average of that list is 9.3. You can do that by hand to check it if you like. Now, just to stick with the question here, the population standard deviation equals stdv.p, open parentheses. Now it knows it's going to calculate something. Highlight the same thing, equals. That population standard deviation is about 7.82. There's formulas here for the sample standard deviation and sample variance. That will vary by problem. Usually you wouldn't do both. But if I want the sample variance, equals var.p, open, .p, open. And if I highlight the same data, hit enter, the population variance is 61. Remember that the variance is the square of the standard deviation, so those two things are in line. Just be very careful, make sure you highlight the right data. Good luck.